Guys, it's Julie Spencer, author of the Buxton Peak series. We are working our way through Buxton Peak, the early years, and we're starting into chapter 11. I hope that if you're liking this series that you will give my videos a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and share these videos on social media so that you can spread the word and help others find them as well. Okay. Buxton Peak, the early years. Chapter 11, Rock of Ages. Head down, don't make eye contact, act shy. Head down, don't make eye contact, act shy. I can pull this off. Ian took a deep breath and stepped out of the car where a young missionary was waiting to help him with his luggage. He nodded, barely making eye contact, and pushed the thick-rimmed glasses up the bridge of his nose as if having them fall down was normal. He was glad he'd purchased frames that were just big enough and heavy enough to hang loosely. He wanted to look studious. He wasn't sure if this was going to work. "Welcome to the Missionary Training Center, Elder." The young man held out his hand, and Ian realized he was waiting to shake hands. "Elder Taylor." Ian cleared his throat and confidently shook the missionary's hand. "I'm supposed to act shy." Ian loosened his grip and pulled his hand back. A misty rain, so common in Preston, England, dotted the lenses of his glasses and concealed his shifting eyes. If only he could stay outdoors, his disguise might be more efficient. He cut all his shaggy hair and dyed it a dark brown, so different from the purposely random highlights and hair gel that it was his signature look. Would it be enough of a change? Other young men and women climbed out of similar sedans, pulling up to the curbs, and more missionaries greeted each of them. Parents were encouraged to drop their kids off at the sidewalk and let their sons and daughters enter the MTC on their own with their new guides as temporary companions. Ian went around to the trunk and lifted his suitcase from its confinement. His father came around back to help him with his smaller carry-on bag, which Ian nested onto the larger bag. "I want my guitar," Ian mumbled under his breath, his hand twitching to reach for the case at the back of the trunk. He stared at it and pursed his lips as a heaviness pierced his chest. "I'm dropping it off to your new mission president on my way back to Buxton. He'll bring it to your apartment in a few weeks." His dad put a hand on Ian's shoulder, forcing him to look into his eyes. "Focus on the work, son. You're here on God's mission. Let His Spirit guide you." "I know, Dad." Ian choked back a lump that could easily become a sob if he let it. He wasn't sure what he'd missed the most, his family or his music. "I just need to get through today. If I can pass the first round of introductions, I'll be more confident I can pull this off." "I have faith in you, Elder Taylor." They looked one another in the eye, man to man. "Thanks, Dad." He wrapped his arms around his father and immediately knocked his glasses askew. He pulled back and chuckled as he straightened the awkward new accessory. "That's going to take some getting used to." "You'll be fine." "Are you Brother Taylor?" The young missionary greeter held out his hand. Ian glanced at his name tag, Elder Reynolds. George Taylor took Elder Reynolds' hand and reached an arm around Ian's shoulder. "Take good care of my boy." "We'll send him home a man," Elder Reynolds said with a confident smile. "In 2 years. Sounds like a great plan." George choked a little on his words and turned to Ian. "Godspeed, Elder Taylor." "Love you, Dad." Ian shook his father's hand, took a deep breath, and stumbled up the curb, clutching the handle on his suitcase. "Love you too, son." Ian sensed his father's gaze on his back as he pulled his luggage beside Elder Reynolds. He heard the car door shut and the sedan quietly pull away from the curb. "Well, I guess I'm a missionary now," Ian mumbled under his breath. "You sure are, Elder Taylor." Elder Reynolds chuckled. "You sure are." "So here's how this is going to go down," President Jones said. "You've been called to serve in Edinburgh, Scotland. How well you keep your own secret is up to you. I won't be dishonest if someone asks me if you are the Ian Taylor, but I won't go out of my way to point it out to anyone either." Ian glanced at the map on the wall across the room, already knowing a great deal about the area. The minute he'd received his letter in the mail telling him details about his assignment, he'd been poring over road atlases and searching Google Maps. "I understand." Ian sat up straight and looked his mission president in the eyes, relieved to act normal for a few minutes. Having the chance to meet behind closed doors gave Ian a reprieve to let his guard down. His new mission president had made a special trip to Preston because of Ian's unique circumstances. "So far, no one seems to know me, so that's a good start." "Yeah, you've made it what?" President Jones looked at his watch. 6 hours? "Hey, it was those first few introductions I was worried about." Ian pulled in a deep breath and let it out slowly. "You'll only be here at the MTC for a few weeks, and then you'll go out into the real world and come face to face with people who may or may not have seen you in concert." President Jones rocked back in his chair. "The man I see in the mirror today looks nothing like the rock star on that stage. I can't imagine anyone recognizing me." Ian ran his hand across the top of his crew cut, already missing the length and weight of his recently chopped hair. "You've got an uphill battle, son." "I know, President Jones, but I prayed about coming on a mission, and I've never been so sure of a decision in my life. I know this is where God wants me." Ian raised his chin. "I believe that," President Jones said. "That's the only reason I'm going along with this charade. I want you to teach the gospel as a humble servant of the Lord named Elder Taylor. If people figure out you're famous, the focus will shift away from the message and get lost in the publicity. I want the chance to be a normal missionary." Ian creased his brows and sat forward in his chair, pleading with his eyes. "And you're sure you don't want to use your real personality to be a shining example to those around you?" President Jones steepled his hands and leaned his elbows on the desk in front of him. "God's radiance will shine through me. That's all that matters." "You're right, Elder Taylor. That's all that matters." President Jones stood and offered Ian his hand. "Good luck." "I don't need luck," Ian said, shaking his mission president's hand. "I have the Spirit of God." "That you do, son." President Jones patted Ian on the back, and they walked out of the room. "Let's go do some good." A knock on the apartment door pulled Ian and his companion, Elder Sparks, from their study session. Who would be here this early in the morning? Elder Sparks rose from his chair and walked to the door, snatching a dirty pair of socks off the floor and tossing them into the nearby hamper before swinging open the door. "President Jones? To what do we owe the honor?" Elder Sparks stepped back to let their mission president into the apartment, and Ian's shoulders melted when he saw what President Jones was carrying. Like a long-lost friend, a birthday gift, and a cool drink of water on a hot day, all wrapped into one beautiful guitar case. "Oh, thank goodness." Ian almost moaned and hopped off the chair. He barely looked at President Jones, just reached for the handle. "Thank you." "Elder Taylor." President Jones held a warning in his eyes and in his words. "Hymns. Only hymns." "I know that." Ian nodded his head and batted his eyelashes, growing more impatient to hold the mahogany in his hands. He took a step back and obediently dropped his hands to his sides, waiting for President Jones to hand him the case rather than snatching it out of his mission president's grasp. "Make wise use of your time, Elder Taylor." President Jones rested the beautiful case in Ian's cradling arms, and Ian fought the urge to run to the couch. Ian set the case beside him on the sofa and opened the lid. He gazed at the beautiful quality, expensive guitar and ran his hands along the shining wood before lifting it gently from its 3-week slumber. He was barely aware of anyone else in the room and closed his eyes while expertly strumming the strings once. This time he was sure his moan was audible, and he immediately felt embarrassed about his reaction. "Oh, I missed this," he thought. The chords from his favorite hymn, "The Spirit of God," flowed through his fingers. He didn't even need to think about what he was playing. The tune just seeped from his heart and mind through his fingers and into the strings. He only played one verse before raising his eyes to his tiny audience of 2, and a cheesy smile lit his eyes. "Be careful." President Jones's message was a warning. "You play that thing too much and people will figure it out." "I will be," Ian answered. Then he mouthed, "Thank you." "You're welcome." President Jones turned to Elder Sparks, whose jaw was slightly open and eyebrows raised. President Jones clapped his hands together once. "So, what are we studying this morning?" Ian reluctantly placed his favorite guitar back into its case and felt his heart pull from his chest as he lowered the lid. He closed the latches and leaned the case against the corner of the room next to the sofa. He couldn't hide the contented smile and feeling of peace. He took one long, deep breath as he stepped back over to the kitchen table where President Jones had pulled up a third chair so he could study with his two young charges. Ian threw himself wholeheartedly into the study session, hoping to prove to President Jones that he could handle this situation. Ian startled when he realized a large missionary sat in the fourth pew, leaning forward, forearms in the back of the one in front of him. He stopped playing the piano and turned slightly toward the elder. "Don't stop on my account," Elder Williams said. "I wouldn't want you to get out of practice." He knows who I am. Crap. Ian narrowed his eyes and pursed his lips. Elder Williams raised his eyebrows and smirked. "Don't worry. Your secret's safe with me, Ian. I'm Elder Taylor." "Right. We'll go with that." Another smirk. "Does anybody else suspect?" Ian fussed with the open hymn book on the music rack of the piano, even though he didn't need to use sheet music. It was just a prop. "I don't think so. Not that I've heard, anyway. Why aren't you playing basketball with the other guys?" Getting together with another set of missionaries on preparation days was tradition. Basketball games were more fun when they had 2-on-2. "You never came back to the gym after getting some water, and we were wondering where you snuck off to. We heard the piano in the chapel, so I volunteered to go check on Elder Taylor." Elder Williams pushed himself off the pew and shuffled into the aisle. He sauntered forward, his large frame reminding Ian of a bodybuilder or a bouncer at a nightclub. He'd make a good bodyguard, he thought. "I have a hard time staying away from the instruments," Ian said. "Love serving the Lord, but—" "Keep playing. I was enjoying hearing you play hymns rather than hard rock." Elder Williams leaned against the half wall that separated the chapel from the stand and nodded. "What's your favorite hymn?" Ian challenged. "Rock of Ages." Elder Williams grinned. "Seriously?" Ian raised his eyebrows. He smirked at his new pal and turned on the bench toward the piano. "Fine, I can do that." Ian rested his fingers atop the keyboard, closed his eyes, and took a deep breath, lowering his shoulders as his hands began to dance gracefully across the keyboard. Countless embellishments dressed up the traditional hymn as he improvised, feeling the hymn as it filled the cavernous chapel. "Come on," Elder Williams encouraged, calling over the powerful notes. "Sing the words. Don't hold back." Ian barely hesitated. His powerful voice rang out. "Rock of Ages, cleft for me. Let me hide myself in thee." "Seems appropriate, don't you think?" Elder Williams interrupted in a loud voice. Ian ignored him and kept going. "Let the water and the blood from thy wounded side which flowed be of sin the double cure. Save from wrath and make me pure." 2 more verses filled the room as Ian released the pent-up need to sing and play, forgetting place and time, letting his vocals reach the rafters, pushing the keys to the limits of sound. He ended the hymn by winding down to soft, passionate notes, and the words ended as they began. "Rock of Ages, cleft for me, let me hide myself in thee." He let the music trail off into a soft conclusion and pushed himself gently away, staring down at the keys. "Wow," Ian's missionary companion, Elder Sparks, said. "That was incredible." Ian looked up to realize the other 2 missionaries had come into the chapel. "Where did you learn how to play piano?" Elder Williams' companion, Elder Basil, asked. "And sing?" Ian turned toward his impromptu audience, feeling his cheeks grow warm. He chuckled with embarrassment. "He makes quite an interesting missionary, doesn't he?" Elder Williams answered the other missionaries, but kept his eyes locked on Ian's. "Weren't we supposed to be playing basketball?" Ian calmly slid the fallboard over the keys, stepped away from the piano bench, and carefully lowered the lid of the baby grand piano. He slid his hands gently along the shining black wood, longing to open the lid once more and stay here for the remainder of his preparation day. He turned to his companions, put on a fake smile, and descended the 4 stairs off the stand to where Elder Williams still stood with his eyebrows raised. Ian's comment was barely audible. "Thanks. I needed that." "I know." Elder Williams patted Ian on the shoulder and followed him back to the gym. All right, that was the end of chapter 11. I hope you liked it. I hope that if you're enjoying these videos that you will give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and share these videos on social media so that we can get the word out and others can enjoy them too. All right, I'll see you for the next chapter. It's called chapter 11, or excuse me, chapter 12 is called Your Secret's Safe with Me.